Welcome, everyone. I'm so pleased to see you all here today. And we're going to have a small group, so this should be really intimate. I'm looking forward to it. And this, everyone knows, because so many of you are in these sessions often, but this is our Peacemaker Circle format, and we really try to offer a Peacemaker Circle every week, and we've been doing pretty well so far. And we try to move around. We try to move around the perimeter of the areas of interest or focus for Zen peacemakers. So this could be war and peace. This could be refugees. It could be unhoused, food insecurity, end of life, pure dharma, the arts, clowning, any number of things. So I think with our friend Mikko today, we get a little bit of all of that. we get some clowning, we get some dharma, we get some taking action, which I'm going to be particularly keen to hear. And I don't know that Mikko needs much introduction. I think most everyone here knows Mikko, if not having been in person with Mikko, probably at Auschwitz more than anywhere else. So you didn't come to listen to me, so I'm going to mute myself. And welcome, Ellen. Nice to see you. I'm going to mute myself and hand the talking stick. I actually have a talking piece. It's a 10,000-year-old piece of aspen from Utah. So I'm going to hand that to Mikko and let him take it from me. Mikko, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you very much. I'm gonna go straight away to my presentation, but I will leave enough time for questions and thoughts and discussion and so on. I'm really, really happy to see all of you here. Thank you so much for coming and spending your time with my presentation. Thanks. And here we go. So I was asked to give a presentation of my work as a peacemaker priest, which is a relatively new thing. I was ordained by Roshi Frank De Waele from Belgium. When was that? 2022 in September. So not too much time has passed. About 18 months. So I'm still kind of trying to fit these new shoes on my feet. So, but I do have some ideas to talk about today. So I still need to find how to work this presentation. I would like to start with my thanks to my teacher, Frank De Waele Roshi, and his teachers, Catherine Roshi and Bernie Glassman Roshi. Thank you. Thanks for all the gifts and time and everything you have given me. Thank you. This is the geography where Finland is. So some people might know some of the neighboring countries like Sweden and Russia too. So we're situated in the very far up north of Europe. And we do not have a border with the Arctic Sea, but very close to it. So I live in Helsinki, which is on the southern coast of Finland, and I was born in the central parts of the country in a place called Jyväskylä. And this is how beautiful this city is. This is the central market square and the big Lutheran church, which is at the center of the city. It's really beautiful. And we do have beautiful winters with Aurora Borealis, the northern lights. Not so often here in Helsinki, but they do see them sometimes. And lots of lakes. I was born in this area of the country where there's lots of lakes and lots of very pure water and lots of swimming and fishing and so on. So when I was born, our family moved to Nigeria, and this left a kind of impression to me. My father was an airplane pilot for a Nigerian airline right after the Nigerian Civil War. And the country was still in the midst of violence and lots of difficulties, and much of the stress that it was related to this experience probably left an imprint on me. And we moved back to Finland when I was 4. This is a picture of me in the local kindergarten. And this whole idea of going back to Africa really kind of resonated in me. And in 2009, I got a chance to go to Namibia, which is on the southern parts of the African continent. And I was invited by my university, where I was then doing my PhDs, to participate in an art workshop close to the Kalahari Desert. And we spent 3 weeks with the local Herero tribe making art. I was making paintings and photographs. And then we had an exhibition in the country's capital, Windhoek. And I met some friends during the time. And then I went back a little after that to have an exhibition of the works that were inspired by the trip, but also to see the local rock art. And I have ended up writing my PhD thesis on origins of art. This hypothesis of why people started making art in the first place, and also started using visual culture and visual language in a way. And it also dealt with running and persistence hunting particularly. So in 2014, I went to the Kalahari Desert with my wife, Maija, to do some field research with the local Jutnuansi people, the hunter-gatherers still living there. Here's 2 of them, the hunter and the older shaman, which is holding the big sticks over here. And it was a really moving experience, really, to see. We once realized with Maija, after spending a night at the bush with the hunters, and in the morning they were looking at the tracks and going around in a place a little bit like this, looking for tracks and signs of animal activity and where to go hunting and so on. And we realized with Maija that this is the first time that we've seen human beings in their natural habitat. And it was really kind of striking experience for both of us, kind of realizing that, yeah, and this is the way that we should be. That these people have been living here for more than 100,000 years, probably even twice that, in a place very similar to this, and with the tools pretty similar to this. Of course, the culture has been evolving for all that time, but still, and looking for animal signs and signs for edible plants. But their knowledge of the surroundings don't limit to the recognition of edible plants and edible other animals, but they also know that which animal eats which plant, and which plant is poisonous for some of the animals and not for all, and so on. And they can read these signs of their environment very fluently. It's like someone said, it was the anthropologist Louis Liebenberg who said that in this environment, all the animals and the insects, they try to hide their tracks, and it's really difficult to find those tracks of others' activities. But nowadays we live in a culture where everyone's trying to show themselves and leave a mark and and use big signs and big billboards of advertising things and so on. So it's a really, really different environment. But seeing these people in this environment was really humbling, because noticing that we don't know these things that these people know, and there's so much things that we've lost during this evolution of socializing and culturalizing and so on. So this is the village where they lived. They don't have any farm animals or anything like that. Actually, they are forbidden in this area because this is a natural preserve area, which is dedicated for their way of living. So they can hunt, but they cannot have their own animals. On the second trip in 2018, we noticed that they had some chickens, but that's not a big deal, but no cows in this area, no. Here's a picture of me carrying lots of equipment, because we also did a movie with Maija of these experiences over there at the Kalahari. And so I had my tiny film camera with me, but also the hunters, they required that I also need to have a bow and arrow, because no one goes to the bush without weapons. And this is from the trip in 2018. The people have been gathering for the ceremony. So to celebrate their ceremony, I'm wearing my Peacemaker Rakushin. As you can see, I look like a giant with these people because they're so tiny. Here's a picture of me with a rock painting in Namibia. This is a rock painting which I've been doing a reproduction of, and it's been a part of my, it was a part of my Ph.D. thesis, but then I was writing a paper on this particular painting and looking for people who might know a little bit more about this. And I found out that there's this Australian archaeologist who've also been studying this painting, and he said that there's possibility that some of this painting are forged and made in the 1990s, but it's pretty difficult to say without a very expensive laboratory tests. And here's me at Harvard University. After I graduated, I was affiliated for some time, for 2 years, with the Harvard University of the Human Evolutionary Department. And this is my professor and Daniel Lieberman. And in 2016, I participated in this peace pilgrimage in Sweden, and it was a kind of revelation in a way, because in 2015, I borrowed Bernie's book, Dude and the Zen Master, from the library for the Christmas holidays, and just to pass time in a way. And I have been doing Zen practice since 2012, but never kind of found a teacher that really resonated in me, and never found a group that was really that kind of felt like home. And 2015, I read this book, and I was really inspired by Bernie's work and his ideas. And then I decided that I need to contact him, and that was early 2016. And I went to the Zen Peacemaker's website to learn that Bernie had just had the stroke. And I realized thought that maybe this is a sign that no use to go to this road. But then in 2016, in the summer, I promised to a friend of mine who was a fellow Zen practitioner that he was making a documentary film on this peace pilgrimage in Sweden, and he needed someone to do the sounds for the documentary film. So I promised him that I would go. I didn't know anything about this, and the first moment that we arrived, we were put into the circle, and this wonderful person took Bernie's Bearing Witness book and started reading from it and telling about Bernie and so on. And I learned that some of these people had been to the Auschwitz retreat, and many of these practices that they had on this pilgrimage were inspired by Bernie's work. It was a really moving experience. Here's me with my equipment again. So here we are. We did this pilgrimage following the old pilgrim roads throughout the southern Sweden. And we ended up to this a city where there's a big arms factory run by the Saab auto company. And when we got there after 4 days of walking, we were arrested. One of our members were arrested because he was filming the arms factory, even though we're across the road pretty far away, and they took him in. But ultimately they did release him, but they took the camera from him. So it was kind of striking that even though we didn't do pretty much anything, we spent 4 days of walking throughout the southern Sweden to see this arms factory that is producing these airplanes and other whatnot for different wars around the world. And we didn't do anything. We were just sitting across the road, and one of us had a camera, and still they phoned the police and took him in and took his camera away. It was really striking that maybe building peace is a serious business. And after this trip, I contacted the Zen Peacemakers again and said that I really want to be a part of this thing, because it has such a resonance on me. My personal touch was that this retreat, this pilgrimage, was about arms dealing, because Sweden's one of the biggest arms producer in Europe, selling arms to different war zones and so on. And my own father had been dealing with arms in the 90s when the Soviet Union collapsed, and he was signed as a pilot to transport these former Soviet arms to different countries in Western Africa, which were under UN arms embargo. So when I learned about this in early 2000s, it was really confusing. I didn't really have any relationship with my father since we moved from Nigeria in 1982 when I was 4. So to kind of learn about this was really perplexing, that even in a country such a peaceful country as Finland is, a normal family such as ours is connected with wars such as the Liberian Civil War, which was really bloody civil war, and my father had been transporting the arms for them. So that really got me thinking that maybe there's something to do with peace. So immediately when I emailed the Zen Peacemakers, they connected me with the European Peacemakers, especially with Petra Hubeling. And Petra invited me to come to Holland to participate a retreat with Joan Halifax Roshi. And over there, I met my teacher, Frank De Waele Roshi, and we started planning what to do in Finland. And you can see Frank there too. And very soon after this experience, I learned that the European Peacemakers is building a retreat in Bosnia. So I also wanted to go, and I was horrified how expensive it would be. But following Bernie's teachings of mala practice, I was encouraged to ask for donations from my friends. And I didn't want to do it, the first time I didn't want to do it kind of impersonal way of asking people for money via email or Facebook or so. But I decided that I would call them, and especially here in Finland, people hate when someone calls them. We invited the SMS text messages, so that's a very Finnish way of connecting with people. But I phoned a lot of people asking them kind of large donations, like 108 euros each. And it took me a few days of collecting enough money for the trip and for the tuition and so on. But yeah, it was really inspiring experience, because I wasn't really a member of the Zen Peacemakers or anything. I was just beginning my path in that. But to kind of come out to people and to tell that this thing is important to me, and I really want to be a part of this, and I really feel that doing these retreats has a meaning. And yeah, and people really resonated with that. Here's some pictures from Bosnia. This place, particularly in Srebrenica, was this memorial for the people who were massacred over there. It was really powerful place, with the testimonies of people who were in Srebrenica during the genocide. It was horrifying. So then in September in 2017, we had our first street retreat here in Helsinki. And Stan was there, and Neve and Ellen, you were all there. I can't see the faces of you at the moment. Maybe there's more from this retreat even here. But it was a really inspiring retreat, and there was nothing like this ever done in Finland, and many people really found it really powerful. And part of the planning of the retreat, I was asked by Roshi Frank to visit the places who are serving the homeless here in Helsinki, and to find out more details about homelessness, how many people are there living in the streets and so on, who are they, and how they ended up to the streets and so on. So I did a few months of research on that, and my initial impression was that most of the people serving the homeless are Christian, and they're forcefully pushing the religion for the homeless people. But throughout this experience of getting to know the people, I learned how wrong I was, and how lovely the people were, and how kind, and they did their work with a really big heart. And there was no pushing of religion for any of these places. And they were really welcoming for us, even though we said that we're Buddhists. There was no problem with that. And here's a picture of the whole group. Lots of happy faces, even though we were cold and wet and not too much hungry, but begging for money and food, it's really humbling experience. And so there were some moments when I didn't feel that comfortable, but it was lovely to have this whole group here. Here's a picture of the first meal that we had. You can see how much food there is. It didn't take too much time for us to gather this, and it was a humbling experience, really, to find out that living on the street for a few days doesn't necessarily mean that you would be hungry the whole time. And here's us, found a huge bunch of cardboard and found a place to sleep, where there was this ledge that we could sleep underneath with no fear of rain. Although the next night we were moved out from this place. There was a couple of security guards that came there, and they were really scared of waking us up because they thought that we might be violent. So they were really kind of cautious, and ultimately when they woke us up, they asked that what kind of group are we, and there was a moment when I thought that maybe we should have said that we are the full moon camper society, that we're enjoying the full moon. But it was a good place to sleep. And we visited some places that were serving the homeless in the area. This was a organization that it's funded by homeless people by themselves, and it's still organized by them. Lately, they've been moving constantly, but now they seem to have a more regular place. But the building, I think it will be taken down after some years. But they have a good space at the moment. But let's see how long. But after this place that they still had in 2017, they had to move several times to different locations. And the place that they now have is pretty far away. So it's kind of ridiculous how much the people living on the streets, how much they need to walk from getting from a service to another service. And we held memorial services on different locations. This is a memorial which is established for the 8 refugees that were handed to the Gestapo during the Second World War, because Finland was allied with the Germans. And we didn't officially hand out the Jewish population to the Germans, but there was a head of the state police that was close with the Gestapo. So he ended up handing out 8 refugees that were located in Finland to the Gestapo, and they were sent to first to Estonia, and then some of them at least went to Auschwitz, and one of them was sent from Auschwitz to empty the the Warsaw ghetto. And one of them survived and came to Finland later on to testify against this head of the police. Due to the mistranslations, the head of police was released, and they even paid him retribution for the time that he spent in the prison. So one of these eight persons was a child of a Hungarian family that was born in Finland. So basically he was a Finn. Even though the number does seem kind of small, but as we were standing there, it still is like half of the people who are standing there. So it's not meaningless. And when it's such a tangible number, it becomes even, I think, even more meaningful in a way. And throughout the retreat, we really ate well. This is one of the organizations that invited us to have breakfast over there, but also to speak about our experience during the time. And after the retreat, Frank Roshi gave me the Chukai, the precept ceremony, and my Dharma name Rakushin, which means the joyous faith. And we held this ceremony in a theater, because our friend Allu, who's the person sitting on the chair on the behind, she's a very close friend of ours, and she's been one of the founders of this theater, and they invited us to have the ceremony over there because it was pouring rain outside, so we couldn't have the ceremony indoors, outside, sorry. And then 2017, almost right after the street retreat, I was asked that if I would be interested of joining the Auschwitz-Birkenau retreat, and because they said that they might be willing to ask me to be a staff member in the next year, but I would need to participate in the retreat first. So off I went, and I think the retreat itself was really powerful, and the place itself is really powerful. And I don't have a personal family connection to the Holocaust, besides my family, my father's side of the family being refugees from the current Russian side of Finland. So, but not part of the Holocaust. They weren't Jews or anything like that, but they were relocated. So many of the people, they lost all their possessions and had to start from the ground up as official refugees, really. And so my father's family didn't really have any wealth after the war. So that was kind of really alive with me during the retreat. But also the place itself, it's such a powerful experience to be there and to really feel that. There was this moment on the first day I was in the Birkenau, I felt this kind of cold breeze coming through the fields over there and really going through my clothing and everything. I really felt that there was that it was filled with spirits and going through me, and I haven't been really a spiritual person growing up. I was really against religions as a young adult, and going to these retreats and really experiencing things like this in person really had a powerful effect and really changed my view of what religion is about and what religious experience and religious practice is about, to really becoming part of that tradition. And I've always been inspired by the what do you call, elders or spirit holders of the retreat. They've become really close to me. I think some of the spirit holders might have changed now. So I haven't been there after 2000 and when was that? 22 was probably the last time I was there. I was there on another retreat last year, but the New York-based Rabbi Shir Yaakov was really close to me during the time he was there. He's such a wonderful person. He has a good perspective of the retreat. You can see the gatehouse of Birkenau on the behind there, and we're sitting beneath the train tracks on the selection site. There's been many days when this thick mist, this fog has really kind of enveloped the whole area. Has a very, even this kind of particular smell to the place. And on many incidents, it's been raining really hard. And there was a day when it was raining really, really hard like this, and we were supposed to sit outside. So then we decided that we're not going to force anyone to sit outside when it's raining like this, and we should go to one of those barracks and inside to sit. But we needed one of the volunteers to stay outside to guard the door so none of the tourists come inside when we're sitting there. So I volunteered and I spent one day sitting in a pouring rain. It was a very interesting experience to sit there on my own when it was really, really raining hard. This is one of the big trees right next to the gas chambers. And when we were having the ceremony over there, I realized that this tree has been there during the operation of the camp. And to hear all the cries and everything of the camp, I don't know what kind of impression does a tree have from experience like this, but yeah. The Sensei Koho doing his deep samadhi. And there's a picture of the reading of the names. I was a retreat photographer on few of the retreats from 2018 to maybe 21. So I have a bunch of these pictures, but most of these are from 18. This is a picture from last summer when we went to the Auschwitz camp with my teacher, Roshi Frank, and with his Sangha and some of the American participants with Ginny Stern. And it was a totally different experience to be there in the summer. It was pretty hot on some of the days, and it was really different. But also the group was kind of small and intimate, and many of the people had a very personal connection. There were lots of people whose parents had been there. And it was a different vibe. And here's a picture of Anna Smulovic on the left. She told a story of, she's a theater maker and has made a play of her parents' experience on Birkenau camp. Her parents met at the camp, and she told a story that there's this small hut next to the selection site, and Adolf Eichmann has been once to the camp and had an office on this hut, and her mother's first assignment as a slave laborer on the camp was to get a sandwich from the camp kitchen where she met her future husband and take the sandwich to Adolf Eichmann. And when she got there, she needed to take a bite of the sandwich before she gave it to Eichmann to ensure that it wasn't poisoned. And she wanted to have some sort of a ceremony at this place where Eichmann was and where her mother had met him. So we organized a small ceremony with first Buddhist chants and then some Jewish singing and dancing, and it was an interesting ceremony. And after the ceremony, I asked her mother's name to dedicate the merits of this ceremony for her mother's memory, and she said that maybe we should dedicate the merits of this offering also to Adolf Eichmann. And my heart really sank at that moment, but I don't know. It was an interesting experience, really, to have a Buddhist Jewish ceremony to dedicate that to Adolf Eichmann at Birkenau, but it was her request. And Stan and Case had their Jukai on the retreat, close to the gas chambers. It was a beautiful ceremony that Roshi had over there. And on the first retreat that I did at Auschwitz, I performed after the retreat as a clown. It was totally kind of impromptu thing to do, but Bernie was still there and he got really excited about the clowning thing. And even though he had been really tired during the whole retreat, he really got excited on the last evening when I was clowning, and he wanted to do something too, and he came to the stage and had some jokes. And after that, I did this clowning number on several occasions. I think it was a wonderful way of discharging this anxiety and sadness and the whole experience after spending 5 days in Birkenau, to really do something really, really crazy on the last evening. One of the important parts of this whole path has been also my wife's practice. She began Zen practice in 2015, and we visited Los Angeles Zen Center in 2017, and they really had hit it off with Roshi Ekioku, and she became her student, and they continued until COVID, when she retired and moved in with her spouse to Seattle and so on. But until that, we visited many times Los Angeles many times, and she did a lot of retreats over there. This is a picture from Maija's precept ceremony. There's our son Oscar. He was kind of tiny, but he's almost as tall as I am nowadays. But it was such a beautiful ceremony. And inspired by the Auschwitz ceremony, Auschwitz retreat, we've done some bearing witness retreats here in Finland too. We did a retreat that was built around the theme of Finnish Civil War that happened in 1918. And we visited some of these locations where this aftermaths of the Civil War happened, when they rounded up the so-called Reds, the working class people, because they wanted to know that who did the rebellion. It was a working class rebellion against the establishment originally, because we gained our independence from the Soviet Union around the Bolshevik Revolution in 17. And we used that momentum to gain our own independence from the Russian Empire in 1917. And many of the people were unhappy with the way that the country was being formed. And the working class people, they really want to build another type of society. And their demands wasn't really that bad. They wanted to have unemployment benefits and reasonable working hours and so on. It wasn't really much, but the establishment didn't really want to give them that. So there was a rebellion where they took the parliament and all these main sites here in Helsinki, and there was a violent really uprising of the working class. So what happened was that Finland sought for help, and the Germans sent 10,000 troops. It was during the First World War. They sent 10,000 troops to Finland to liberate Finland from the Red Terror. And that's when the really bloody incidents happened. And they gained the areas again, and they rounded up tens of thousands of these suspected Reds, and they put them into this old Russian military garrisons, which ended up being the first concentration camps in the European soil. And thousands of people died on those camps for mostly malnutrition and exposure, but also diseases and so on. So during these 4 days, we visited a few of these places, 4 different camps. 2 of them are here in Helsinki. One of them is an island, which is this one in this picture. It's a beautiful kind of holiday camping destination at the moment, but there was a prison camp during this time. And my maternal grandfather had been to this place and another site, which is a little bit further away from Helsinki. So there was this personal connection to it, but also all of the participants, the Finnish participants that were participated this retreat had a personal connection to these events. And in the mornings we had our council circles, like in Auschwitz retreat. We did this on the same theater stage where the Chukai happened. And Sensei Bob from Maryland was there too. He officiated a ceremony on the same memorial that you saw before, the Jewish memorial. Here's another picture of that. And one of the most powerful testimonies during the retreat was, because we called this the Civil War retreat. And I know this man called Esat Lanzo, who was from Bosnia, and he was a prison camp guard during the war in Bosnia. And he was sentenced by the tribunal in Hague after the Bosnian War and sent to prison for 15 years. And he wanted to come to Finnish prison because it provided the best psychological help that he could get, because during the tribunal, he noticed that until that, he didn't realize that he had done anything wrong by torturing and killing these prisoners. And he didn't realize that he had done anything wrong because he was a Bosniak, and Bosniaks really suffered the most during the Bosnian War. And he had had Serbs as prisoners, and he had no remorse during the time. And when he was put to the trials, and there was the moment when he realized that something wasn't right. So he wanted to come to Finland to do his prison sentence. And during this time, he decided that when he's released, he wants to go back to Bosnia and invite those former prisoners back to the prison camp. And he wants to hear their testimonies and bear witness to that. And then after that, he wants to ask forgiveness. And none of his former prisoners couldn't forgive any of the things that he had done, of course, but it was such an important thing for him. And there was a Danish filmmaker that made a film about this process, and inspired by this film, I decided to give him a phone call. And he lives close by here in eastern Helsinki, and he's about the same age as I am, and he wanted to be an artist when he was young, as I did. And so there was lots of things that we had in common, and he's a wonderful man. And he gave a very beautiful and powerful testimony during the retreat. I think it's really important for us to bear witness to the perpetrator's side. Because as Esat said, everyone suffers in war. Some of these places that we visited, they really, even the visuality of these places is very ominous in a way. This is a former military garrison built by the Russians, and even the architecture is really similar to Auschwitz. And especially this camp, the whole layout is so similar to Auschwitz that there was a intersection of different railway lines that intersect over there. And so it was easy to transport the thousands of people over there. And there was a gate outside where the train stops. And after the gate, there's a sauna building. And behind the sauna, there was an execution wall. And they had men's barracks and they had female barracks. And all of these details, they really reminded of Auschwitz. And it's a still functioning military garrison. It's a Swedish-speaking military garrison. And not many people get access to the place. But when we connected the place with my wife, asking for the permission to get there, and they wanted to meet us because they said that it's kind of suspicious that there's peace activists that want to visit the military garrison, and they wanted to meet us first to kind of screen out that what kind of people are they. But they were really, really nice when we went there, and they gave us a tour during the retreat twice, and yeah, it was a really interesting experience to visit there. This is another functioning military garrison not too far from Helsinki. It's actually within the parameters of Helsinki, and there's this site which is this open sand field, very kind of not particular to Finland and not particularly common here in Helsinki, and about 3,000 people have been buried over there, and after that it became the first airstrip in Finland, and after that it became the pigsty of the military garrison. And during when the pigs lived there, some of the people in the military, they knew that there's a burial ground, so they moved the pigs away, because even they thought that it's kind of not too nice to have the pigs over there. And in the 50s, the communists, they built a memorial for the red victims over there. And we visited some of the very beautiful nature sites close to Helsinki. That was really nice to go there, and we had lunch over there, and we slept a bit under the trees. It was really wonderful. Then we've also had a workshop with Moshe Cohen here in Helsinki in 2019, a clowning workshop. That was a lot of fun. Lots of happy faces. And then in 22, we had our last street retreat. Lots of food again. This is a improvised altar for the Gate of Sweet Nectar ceremony. Lots of food again, offered to the hungry ghosts. We didn't have such a nice place for sleeping that time, but we were okay. And we visited some of the places again, served the homeless. This was a particularly moving place. They have a car that they use in the night times, that they ride around the city to see if someone's sleeping on the streets, and they take him in and offer and seek for help for them. Because Finland has this housing first program. So basically none of the people live on the street. There's always someone that tries to find you into the system that you will get housing first. And after that, you can solve your other problems, but they will find you a place to sleep. Happy group. And this is the new location for the organization that was founded by the homeless organization. Here we're debating whether to stay here for the night or move to another place. Another snack break. I took this picture very early in the morning where everyone else was still asleep. There's lots of free toilets in Finland. I've learned that on some of the other countries, finding a toilet is kind of difficult, but in Helsinki, they do have public toilets almost everywhere in the center. There's a monument for Mahatma Gandhi that we visited. This was a beautiful moment, very beautiful early morning, kind of warm, and we were sitting in this park in the circle. Here's a happy group again. And after the retreat, I learned that one of the participants had told the child that what we had done in Finland, and the child got so inspired by the retreat that he had told some of the kindergarten friends of his, and the group got really inspired by about collecting money for the homeless people in Helsinki, and they collected some money and they sent it to me, and I went to 2 of these locations and handed out the money and told it was from the Belgian kids, and they got so moved and they asked me to do this video for them to help them with their fundraising. So I'm going to show it to you. I hope it works, that you can hear the sound too. I made this video to support them and also as a thank you for the kids.
Yeah, what did we do to make the money?
Sell
We sold something. What did we sell?
snack.
We sold snacks, and now we want to give the money to
Homeless people.
Then I come back and I will tell you how it was for them.
Me halutaan vihreillä keitailla kiittää teitä ihania belgialaisia lapsia tästä niin meidän sydämeen ottavasta lahjasta. Olette aivan mahtavia. Kiitos.
Thank you.
Hi, thanks for everyone for this lovely donation. We make sure that we make plenty of homeless people happy. We can buy something important for them, maybe some snacks or then something else. But I'll let you know what we'll do. And big heart, big love, lots of greetings to everyone.
There we go. And after the retreat, Frank gave me an ordination ceremony where I was installed as a peacemaker priest. And a big group of people came, even this, it's a Vietnamese Rinzai Zen group that has a small temple about 2 hours from Helsinki, and they have their own group that came to visit the ceremony too. Here's my wife Maija putting on my robe for the first time. Here's the group photo. And my priest name is Kendō. I was given by Roshi Frank, and it means way of devotion. His first character, Ken, is a devotion offering. And there's a misspelling over there, I noticed. And the door is, of course, the way. So someone asked me that, what does it mean to be a priest? That what does a priest do? And I devised this list of 10 devotions. I have a problem here. I can't see the list myself because there is a banner on the first devotion, but there's a devotion to practice that I noticed that when I became a priest, there was a sense of seriousness that came to my practice. That really to dedicate the time and heart to the practice, and devotion of also to study and practice of liturgy, like Roshi Frank said, that it's a step into a liturgical life. And also because there hasn't been this kind of practice in Finland before, so I've been also translating the liturgy into Finnish. And I also think devotion to living lineage is important. So supporting the activities of teachers and also supporting the activities of the Zen Peacemakers International, I think. And devotion to history of lineage, like translating the texts. Like I've been translating Bernie's Bearing Witness book. I hope I find a publisher soon for that. I think it should work now. But I've been trying to find a publisher since 2016 for that. So, and devotion to building a community, giving public talks, and really to kind of trying to find the right people to also to serve them, but also to find the right people to really to kind of help them to come together and build something. And devotion to serving others. Like us, we have this own study group, and it has become really important to me to really kind of trying to meet their needs as well. And as a lay priest, I think devotion to family is really important, not to use our practice as an excuse to go away from them, and devotion to embodiment of the practice, kind of setting an example to really kind of try to embody the priesthood in a way. And devotion to carrying the robe with pride. I think there's no hiding after you're a priest, that you can't hide that you're not really a Buddhist after that. But also the devotion to the precepts as well, really to kind of study that what does it really mean to be a Buddhist practitioner. And these are some of the offerings that we have. Online meditations weekly, and we have in-person meditation weekly, which we hold at the location which is owned by the Diaconess Center. They invited me at one point to have council circles for their group, which is mostly low-income pensioners and unemployed people, and they were really welcoming in that way. And after that, we got our own key, and we host the open meditation for everyone on Thursday evenings. And then we have a study group with Maija, my wife, which is, we meet as a group once a month online. And then we have a private meetings to support their individual practice. We have these once a month for the members of the group. And then we host these council circles monthly at the Diaconess Center. Then we also do ceremonies. I've been asked, since I became a priest, I've been asked to put their name on the sick list or put the name of their deceased relatives or friends on a memorial list. And even though I don't do this publicly, I do it privately here. And I do feel that there is a meaning in that. And I think it's really important. And then we've had few forest sazenkais, and not so much retreats at the moment, but besides the Civil War retreats and street retreats, but these are more sparse in a way. But forest sazenkais, we've had few, and they've been really wonderful. There's a natural preserve area really close to our place. It's only like a few hundred meters from here, and it's really kind of beautiful, wild piece of forests. And we sit there for a day, and it's been a wonderful, wonderful experience. And I do translations of books, and I think David Loy's book, Eco-Dharma, will be the first one that's going to be published. And I do research and give talks. Like today, I gave a talk at the University of Buddhist Engaged Practice and Climate Activism. And then we do art. I do visual art, but Maija does music, and I collaborate with Maija too. Like the song that we heard on the video was by Maija and so on. And we do videos too for Maija's music. And many of the songs, they are really kind of tried to find a way that we could really do some difference in the world, I think. And we also have resources for people who are interested in things like this. We have our website, thepeacemakersfinland.org, where we have liturgy as well, and we have a library which is based here in our home, but we send the books to people if they want to, and we redirect them to all kinds of resources if they want to. And there we go. I shall end my sharing now. How does it work? Stop share. Here we go. We have time for questions now. Is that okay, Jeff?
That's great. Yes, and thank you. That was wonderful, Mikko. And I think we're a small enough group. I should be able to see everybody. So if you want to wave your hand, or if you want to use your electronic hand down under reactions, and if you have a comment or a question or an observation or a feeling or anything you'd like to say. And maybe I'll just go ahead and say a couple of words, Mikko. I am so impressed by how much you're doing, and how quickly all this has come together. You know, we have 50 plus affiliates around the world, and not all of them are anywhere near. Very few of them are anywhere near as active as what you're doing. So thank you so much. It's really a great example of what a local group, what an affiliate group can do, and the range of activities. So I'm just really impressed. Anyone else? Let's see. Did I see a hand move and I missed it? Or Ellen, have you got your hand up, or were you just moving? Yeah, please go ahead and unmute.
Yeah.
There you go.
I didn't raise my hand, but I like to say something. Yes. So you see it before I knew it. Yes, I'm very happy to. I love Mikko. I met him, I think, the first time, Mikko, I met you when you were with Rosie Joan. I was there also, and retreat with Frank Roshi later. And the last time was last year on Auschwitz. And I'm very happy to hear your story, and I'm touched about your story about your father. I didn't know that part of your life. And yeah, thank you. It's impressive what you also said. How many things you do. Wow, thank you for that, for this inspiration. That's what I want to say.
Thank you, Ellen, and also a huge thanks for your support throughout the years. Thank you.
Thanks, Ellen. Roshi, Frank, I see that you've unmuted. Did you want to contribute?
Yeah, I would like to first of all thank you, Mikko, for this presentation. It's me too, seeing the pictures, all-time pictures. It's really impressive. I think over the years you've done a lot, and we've done a lot together also, building something. But it has a very personal touch also, what you do in Finland, together with Maija, with your family. I think it's very meaningful. And an aspect that I think is important that came not so true is through the presentations is the way you're building community in Helsinki. You've brought different people together. You have a sitting group. It was interfaith. Maija also, with the interfaith people. So I think that's a piece also that is meaningful, I think, in your work there. I would like to add that you also are a researcher, Mikko. You've done a whole study on the origin and the making of the Gate of Sweet Nectar, which hopefully will come as a publication, who knows, soon. But you did a lot of research on that with the people of the Zen Peacemaker International, also with all the teachers and the elders, which I think is a very interesting piece of work you've done. And I would like to add that for a number of years you belong also to our study group. We meet every month with a group of an international group of people who prepared for Zen Peacemaker precepts, the Jukai, which we now decided to open up to a larger group to do to study Burmese texts and work. And yeah, it was a pleasure to have you there all those years in that study group together with Neve. Neve is part of that too, and Svenja in Germany and Diana in Holland. And it's a wonderful group with Robert in Berlin. So in due time, I guess our connection, our network, we plan to connect to the Zen Peacemaker International, Chief. We've been doing little steps, but that's what we want to do. Thank you for this opportunity to share this together.
Thank you so much, Roshi, for all the love and time that you have given to me throughout the years. It's been priceless. Thank you.
Neve, hi.
Hi, Mikko, thank you very much for such a rich gathering of all the inspiration in your life. And I just wanted to thank you for your encouragement and support of me coming into these practices, especially with the street retreat in 2017, which has been steadfast for me throughout. And I was curious about one thing in your presentation, well, a few things, but when you were doing your field research in, was it Namibia, the photo of the two men, and you were describing how they would find the tracks and how difficult it was to find the tracks. You may not have an answer to this, but I'm curious as to whether there was anything of that echoed in, say, street retreats or bearing witness retreats later on. I experienced a bit of finding tracks on street retreat with you myself, so I just wondered if there was any through thread there for you. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it was this kind of powerful experience that was kind of difficult to define. That what was it about, when kind of realizing that this is the first time bearing witness to human beings and their natural habitat, and kind of seeing that web of interconnectedness that they had with their surroundings, with all the plants and animals and insects and everything, and kind of realizing that in that way, together with Maija on that spot, really had a kind of deep resonance that certainly resonates with me on retreats such as street retreats for sure, because on the street retreat I've noticed that there's this dynamic of the group that builds up in this one entity, this kind of deeply integrated family during the retreat, that we start to support on different great qualities that all the participants show and bring to the group. I think that really has this kind of sense, but also on the street retreat, I've noticed that there's this sense of belonging to the place, that when you leave your home, you go through your pockets, if you have your keys and your phone and you and your telephone, and you make sure that you're safe, and then you rush outside the door and try to go to the place where you're going to as fast as possible. And when you want your cup of coffee, you pay for it and you hardly say thanks and so on. But on the street retreat, everything becomes much more meaningful. All the encounters with all the people, they become meaningful because you need to ask for money for food, and you need to beg for food and all of that, and it becomes this kind of web of integration in a way. Yeah, certainly it has a connection to it. That wonderful question. I've never really thought about that. But I've also wanted to thank you, Neem, for being a part of this family since 2017. I really feel like you're a sister of mine in a way. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. Anyone else? We have a few more minutes here. If anyone has a question or a comment, Bruce, is that your fingers up?
It was, and it is. Mikko, thank you so much. I was born and raised in Minnesota, a state that has many, many Scandinavians, and my grandparents immigrated from Norway. This summer, my wife and I will cruise from Iceland to Norway, and I'll set foot for the first time. But we both went to a Swedish college in Minnesota and have friends that are Finnish and may get to the Baltic Sea soon. Are you or Frank considering Auschwitz this year? I am, and really enamored with the bearing witness that occurs there since joining ZPI. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. Thank you. I haven't really made any decisive plans regarding the Auschwitz this year. I know that I'm not needed for the staff this year, but I haven't decided if I will go anyway. But nice to see that there's a Scandinavian blood in Minnesota. I know that there's lots of Finns living on those areas too. There's also a group of people who call themselves Finn Indians, who are descendant of the local native people and Finnish immigrants. And they made a documentary film of a group of American natives who wanted to come to Finland to see the land of their ancestors. And they came to Finland and they were really touched by meeting their ancestral lands.
Anyone else here? And Bruce, thank you for that. Thanks. Yours?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mikko, for your presentation on the couple of years you have been practicing and presenting the Zen Peacemakers in Finland. I was very much inspired by the street retreats in Helsinki. I was feeling quite safe in Helsinki to be on the streets. It's not the case in every city. And I think we also joined our mutual interest in Eco-Dharma, as David Loy will be in Belgium in June. So you'll be staying with us, as we agreed to host you here, and we welcome you in our humble home. And then I was also inspired by the work you're doing, and I was wondering if there is how people respond to the fact that the Zen Peacemakers, compared to, I would say, the regular Zen groups that are active in different areas, how you, how people respond to this more active way of practicing Buddhism. That's one of my questions, I would say. But thanks so much.
Thank you, Joris, and thanks for taking me in next summer. Thank you for offering your home. Yeah, I haven't really thought about it lately, because I don't think that we're kind of taking people from other sanghas into our sangha. I think people who come to our group, they're kind of different in the first place, and they kind of seek for different kind of integration with their work and practice. And at some point they felt like there was more people who were feeling the need to move from a more traditional Buddhist practice into more social engaged practice, but not so much lately anymore. And I think there's space for all kinds of groups here in this country, and I do respect the different approaches that different groups offer. I think they have their place, and even I don't know that what kind of group that we will become at one point, but at this moment we are very kind of loosely connected group of different kind of people with different kinds of needs and approaches to their own work and practice. But we try to be kind of fluid in a way that we try to find ways that serve these people with their needs best. We try to find different types of practices, like we have our in-person meditations at the Diaconist Center, and then we have our online meditations and the study group that feels like a really important thing for some of the people. But we try to be kind of fluid in that way and try to build a group that serves people best, I think. Thank you, Joris.
Mikko, if I could, Joris, to your question, if I could add to what Mikko said, with Zen Peacemakers, we're really not we're not really trying to be an alternative or to compete with our Zen Center members. In fact, we really want to support all of the Zen centers that are part of the larger community, the network. So it's not a binary choice. It's both and I'm probably a good example of this. I'm a senior and a Dharma holder in a Zen center here in Boulder, Colorado, which is an affiliate of Zen Peacemakers, but separate from. And then also I do my Zen Peacemaker activity as well. And I think that's pretty common. The other answer to your question, Joris, is in 3 years, Zen Peacemakers membership has tripled. So, I'd like to think that it appeals, to people, and it is beyond Zen as well, as we all know, right? We are intentionally interfaith and not specifically even Buddhist for that matter. So I think there's a different appeal and a broader appeal, and they're mutually supportive of each other. I don't know if that helps. Anyone else? We have just a couple more minutes here. Or we can wrap up too. Mikko, is there anything you'd like to just add as an ending comment?
I'd like to extend my gratefulness for Jeff and the whole family of the Zen Peacemakers International. I think building this kind of online community has been really, really important for me since the beginning in 2016. I wouldn't have been able to build any of this without your support. And also for your great thanks to your support for being a staff member at Auschwitz for so many years. It was a really, really important part for me. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. And we we may get back to that, you know, once our number increase, but our retreat is smaller than it was when you were there a few years
Yeah.
ago. Yeah.
I'm here.
Sorry?
I will be here.
You're
So just send me a message when needed.
I will. Okay, everyone, thank you. And what we like to do at the end of these is open your microphone and let's just say bye-bye.
Thank
all.
you, Mikko.
Bye.
Thank
you.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
Mikko.
Nice to see you,
Bye-bye.
Nim. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye, Roshi. Bye.